Welcome to Talk Too Late. This is Talk Too Late, the show in which we talk about games from 2 years ago, because yes, and if you're watching this, remember you can support us for free by downloading the Brave browser, which is an amazing browser. It's based on Google Chrome, but it doesn't have any of the Google craziness. It's really private and it blocks... Hey, what is this noise? What is this noise? This noise is obviously my very noisy guests. Prosil.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I've said Prosil first this time around because he's the one making all the noise. And the other one is Mik.
Hi guys, I'm the one that doesn't make noise yet.
Good. You may know Mik because he was formerly known as Headache Mik. But now
Yeah, that's why I'm famous.
Yes. You're not noisy, Mik, but you're still pretty loud compared to Prosil, at least.
I can lower.
That's good.
The
That's
overall
good.
affair.
How are you doing,
Sure.
guys? Prosil is in vacation.
Yeah, I'm on holiday.
How's it going?
Going good. Almost done with holidays. Yeah, but I'm not playing games. Nothing at all.
No?
Oh no.
I thought you posted something about Zelda Awakening on Switch,
Yeah,
Switch remake.
But yes, the Link's Awakening. But I don't know. I fall asleep when I play the game. It's not as good as I expected, I have to say. It's
Which one is Link Awakening? The
I think
remade?
it's the remake of the Game Boy version.
Okay.
Yeah,
I played
and-
that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't manage to progress. I'm not sure what I need to do, and I'm a bit lost.
It's really a weird Zelda for
Yeah.
sure.
Weird.
But
I think it's one of the first. But looks like I think they might have left the game as the original was.
Yeah, it's like from what I heard, it's identical. You know why it's so weird? Because it's really inspired by Twin Peaks. Did you know that?
No,
Shut
really?
up.
Yeah. At the beginning of the game, I almost said Zelda. Link is like washed ashore,
Yeah.
kind of like a Laura Palmer thing. And there's a whole thing about mysteries in the town.
Is this for real?
Yeah, it's probably even on Wikipedia. You can I don't know if it's
Let me
public,
Google it.
but it's
No, don't Google it. Don't Google it. I'm gonna have to hear and listen to your typing all over our Game Too Late and Talk Too Late episode. Which, as I was saying, you guys watching or listening to this on our podcast platforms can support us. You can do so by checking out the comments and the description to this video. There is a referral link. You can download the Brave browser and support the show. It's completely for free, and you get to learn about a world-changing browser. But let's just dive into the meat of our episode. They Talk Too Late. We talk about games from 2 years ago. So we're looking at the release schedule from September 2018. Exactly, September 2018.
that month, the Chinese month.
Now, if you've been following the show, and you most likely have, you will know that the past couple of months have been fairly quiet, but boy oh boy, do we have an intense show ahead of us.
I don't believe you.
No, we do. It's really incredible. We start with a visual novel. Now, okay, it's just gonna...
Starting solidly.
Now we start slow, but it's great. I just want to have a very short mention about 428 Shibuya Scramble. This is actually a super cool visual novel that sold very well. It's from Chunsoft. Chunsoft is the company that does Danganronpa, the sort of crime thriller visual novel with the crazy bear, the crazy looking bear. And anyway, this visual novel has a very particular style because it has a lot of like real life pictures and videos, and it's a crime thriller still, and you guys may want to check it out. It's been released 2 years ago, and if you are a fan of Japanese gaming, or if you miss visiting Tokyo, you should really check out Shibuya Scramble. But let's move forward to the kind of meteor side of September and the releases.
It's just on PS4 and Windows, right?
So far, yes, but I wouldn't be surprised if by this day and age you can possibly find it on iOS and Android as well. Possibly, yeah. So
how was the game rated? Well,
I think it was a good game. I mean, the story, I didn't play it. This is a game that came out the first time on Wii in 2008.
Wow.
So it keeps being re-released. It came out on PlayStation 3, on PSP, Android in 2011. Little did I know that it wasn't, that it was before already. And then it came out again on PlayStation 4 and Windows.
It's basically the Resident Evil 4 of Japanese
visual novels
stuff. Yeah. Visual novels, yeah.
Yes. So I mean, it's a good game though. Famitsu, look at Famitsu's score.
Jesus.
Famitsu gave it a 40 out of 40, which is the same as Zelda, just to put it in perspective, you know. And
yeah, because Zelda is amazing.
Overall, look at the scores. Now you can kind of ignore Famitsu because Famitsu, they're a bit of a crazy bag, but you know, everywhere else the scores are really high. So I know this is a visual novel, folks, but you may want to give it a try if you find it cheap, because if there was a visual novel to check out, it's probably this. It's been around on different stores for 10 years now. Crazy. So it was already pretty interesting start of September, but it gets better. It gets better because on the same day as Shibuya Scramble, Dragon Quest XI comes out. Now, one thing that I want to say about this game looks incredible. It looks incredible because, you know, Dragon Quest is illustrated by the same guy that illustrates the Dragon Ball series, Akira Toriyama. So you will find the most incredible illustrations and the most incredible characters. I mean, look at the protagonist.
It's basically Trunks without the purple hair.
It's basically Trunks.
It's basically Bulma.
Yes, exactly. This sort of highlights. It's a crazy game. But the cool thing is that this is not only the style of the illustration. The actual gameplay is just like a cartoon. It's just like that. It's
that's nice.
Super beautiful. And there's another interesting thing about this game that I really wanted to play 2 years ago, is that I have resisted the temptation to play 2 years ago because the game came out in an enhanced version on Switch a year later, so 1 year ago.
Oh.
And this December, all the improvements of that version are going to be brought back to PS4, and we're talking about orchestral music. So the whole soundtrack is being played by an orchestra, live orchestra, and they have added Japanese voiceover for the first time ever for a Dragon Quest in 30 years.
Nice.
Dragon Quest has never been voiced before, and they've done it for this game on Switch only. And this Christmas it will arrive back to PlayStation 4. So if you've been holding off, you may want to hold off another little while and wait for the definitive version that will come out, there you go, 2 years after this release.
Or you can hold off a little bit longer still and play it on the new Switch that will come out eventually in 2021.
Yes, possibly there's that too. But yeah, the game is really sweet, really looks fantastic to me. I wanted to play it straight away, but I'm glad I resisted the temptation because I really want to play it in its best incarnation in the future. But yes, absolutely, Dragon Quest XI, if you don't play JRPGs, you want to give this a try anyway, because it's possibly one of the best of its kind. We move forward to Gone Home, arriving to Nintendo Switch. Do you guys know anything? Because I know nothing.
Yeah, I played this. It's well, somebody that it's a little bit mean could call this a walking simulator. This is one of those games that came out in the PC era of well, walking simulator or a little bit more experimental storytelling. These were around the years of the Telltale games, around the years of after the years of Amnesia. So this kind of PC games were kind of relatively new back then, and I bought it kind of blindly, expecting it to be a little bit spooky, you know. But it's actually something much deeper. It's actually an exploration of the character, the psyche, and a lot of, well, not dark things, but deep things that have happened to the character. It's really interesting, but it can be boring if you are, you know, if you want some action and some spook. You're not gonna find it here. It's storytelling at its finest. Not bad.
Very nice little review. And just what we saw with Shibuya Scramble, this is also a game that has been out already for some time. It initially came on Windows in 2013, And then 5 years later, it found its way to Nintendo Switch and PlayStation. To Nintendo Switch only at that point. Yeah, but it was So I mean, it seems to be an interesting experience. Do you agree with the scores?
Probably. Well, we gotta put this game into the context of the type of game that it is. So, I mean, it's solid. It does what it should do. So 8.5 out of 10 makes sense. Maybe not a 9.
6 out of 10, 9 out of 10.
That seems a little bit mean. Maybe, the guy that had a 6 out of 10 there wanted some action for sure, wanted something more.
Yeah, now overall, the average is much higher than that. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. But we go back to our schedule because there's so much coming. Because just the day after Gone Home on Nintendo Switch, a lot of other games came out, and namely, there is one that probably Prosil can tell us about. I'm talking about one of the best-selling PlayStation 4 games ever, one of the fastest-selling brands from Sony, developed by Insomniac, which is a seal of quality, if you ask me. I'm talking about Spider-Man for PlayStation 4.
Yes, that's not a great game. I think it's a game that has a lot of fans on the market because it's the character.
Yeah,
it's an impressive, very realistic reproduction of New York. As you can see, the game is very fast, but it's not bringing anything new to the plate when it comes to fighting system, to story mode. The story mode has these middle parts where you need to use Peter Parker or his girlfriend, and they are very boring. So overall, the game as a whole, going around as Spider-Man in the city, is quite entertaining. But then when you look at at how the game was built and what the game brought in terms of story and things like that, I think it has so much to offer. It comes as a surprise that this was a top seller. I wasn't aware, also because it was released, I remember, close to God of War.
Yeah. We're gonna look at that, but let's have a look at the reception. I mean, if you're looking just the score, the game is across the board very, very high, but not perfect, but very, very high. And in terms of charts and selling charts, I think it sold very well. I remember reading somewhere that it sold very well, but there you go. It sold 3.3 million copies in the first 3 days of release, making it the fastest selling first-person video game release in Sony's history, beating God of War.
Wow. It's not even comparable as a game to God of War.
I have to say that this has been now beaten by The Last of Us 2, which is possibly...
Which is not... It's not first party though.
Yeah, I think it can be considered a first party.
Exclusive.
It's I mean, sure. Naughty Dog really sucks Sony's dick, but it's
Yeah, I think it can still be considered a first party.
Bring it on PC, you cowards!
Is it owned Naughty Dogs by Sony?
Nah, but I guess they're really close.
Neither is Insomniac.
No, but they worked
They have an exclusive partnership since
they're a first party just as much or even more than Insomniac, so let's consider it a first party, at least in terms of publishing effort. But going back,
they have some term that
it sold very, very well, and I think it's obviously it leveraged. I mean, if you think about it, it's nice that they managed to do, after the Batman tie-in games, they finally managed to do another tie-in game related to a comic that is actually done well, because usually you're always worried that the sort of tie-ins can be sort of cheap, but there is a lot of incredible production value. I mean, for me, I'm not a big fan of Spider-Man, but the appeal of being in New York for somebody like me that really loves virtual tourism, you can imagine this being a pretty strong appeal for the game, a pretty strong selling point. So
I mean, the game is, I mean, when you look at the game, you look at the game as a whole, and this one is a great game also. But then when you look, at those middle section where you use normal character like him or his girlfriend, it's so boring. It's really it ruins the game because you need to do those parts. And fighting system is still the Batman one, nothing more, nothing less than that. So for me, a 9 out of 10 is a lot. But I have to say that graphically, this stuff runs on PS4 standard very well. So I think I don't think the PS4 version will be much better than this. The PS5, sorry.
The PS5 version, yeah. Cool. Interesting.
But they're doing a sequel, right?
They're making a sequel based on Miles Morales that is sort of an independent standalone game. I don't expect that game to really push PlayStation 5. I expect it to be some sort of appendix to this experience.
Perhaps. I mean, we've seen it a lot that like first party titles on the beginning of a console career are just like a showcase.
Yeah.
And they need to be big titles to attract. Like Spider-Man is fully owned by Sony and has a huge legacy. Like the video games of Spider-Man have been thousands and they've sold all amazingly. There was like a time back in the PS2 era that every couple of years we had a PS2 Spider-Man game because of the same Raimi movies and then the reboot. Sony really knows the brand and knows how to market it. And in fact,
and there is another little trivia that we wanted to forget about, but I'm gonna remind you about it, which is the fact that when PlayStation 3 came out, it had the font of Spider-Man.
I remember that.
Did you guys remember that?
Was it a mistake or they actually...
That was legitimately deliberate and intentional. They gave the PlayStation 3 the font of Spider-Man, which I thought was
the dumbest thing ever.
I don't think it was dumb. I think it was worse than dumb because it was cringe as fuck.
Yeah, right.
Super cringe.
Very cringy.
Very cringy. To give you like I don't know. It's just I don't know.
It's like when you create a username and it's like XXX Alucard XXX
something like
blood,
that.
Gore Alucard XX.
Yeah, 69 at the end. But also I mean because it's also because the font in itself was pretty lame.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go back to our release schedule because there's even more exciting things coming up. Okay, just a second. Okay. Let's move forward to the 13th of Skyline. No, 13th of September. There is Cities Skylines. Don't you guys love these games about building a city and stuff?
Nope.
Paolo, have you played this?
I played that on PS4, but I didn't like it. I think it's a game that can be successful on PC.
Cool.
I don't see this happening on any other platform, honestly. You need a mouse and I don't know. This is a game that can be great if you have a PC. Cannot be played on controller. No way.
By the way, we're talking about the Switch version, which I think is still being controlled with the remote, with the controller rather than touch screen or anything like that.
Oh, why not?
Yeah,
touchscreen would work amazingly.
Possibly, but
we don't know. I think we should check.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to have your opinion because I remember that this game was given away for free by PlayStation Plus in recent times, but I didn't even bother checking it out because I love city building games, but I play this in other platforms. Really, I didn't want to try and play this on PlayStation 4. But yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot one of these days. It's good. It's good anyway that this genre of gaming is arriving to consoles like Nintendo Switch. Is a really unusual experience for a Nintendo console.
True.
Cool.
Like, the funniest thing in this game is like just to see the city burn. We can all agree on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, and Godzilla arriving and the earthquakes.
Yeah.
I remember Godzilla being one of the best features of SimCity when I was really young. At some point, you could just spawn Godzilla and destroy your city, and that would test your skill.
I played SimCity on SNES, and that was amazing back then too.
That was amazing. Yeah.
It was amazing. And then was it the SNES or was it the PS Foundation that you could combine it with that other helicopter video game? There's like an helicopter video game which you had to basically rescue and save people with this helicopter, and you could actually load your SimCity file in it, and the city that you would drive your helicopter in was the SimCity city you created.
That is mind-blowing.
Yeah,
and we need
they don't do this stuff anymore.
We need to make a separate episode about that, because that is just incredible. That's fantastic. We're gonna look into that. But speaking of,
please now. Sorry.
Cool. But speaking of fantastic and incredible and unusual stuff, we're gonna talk about 13 September, Final Fantasy 15 arriving to Nintendo Switch. But wait, we're talking about Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition. Do you know what Pocket Edition Final Fantasy 15 is?
I imagine the mobile version of it.
Yes, you win. You win a free game for Chapter 1. There you go.
Because they played it.
It is.
I know, because they played it.
It's
actually
a free
awesome
game for Chapter 1. And it basically, you pay for the rest of the chapters. But they've basically have taken the blueprint of Final Fantasy 15 as a blueprint, and they have redeveloped it as a chibi version with the deformed characters, but it's pretty much the same storyline and simplified gameplay, but it's Final Fantasy 15. You have to believe me. So Mik, you have played the iOS version that now arrives on Android, that now arrived on Nintendo Switch, packaged as a single game. And Prosil, you played the full game on PlayStation 4. So yeah, I'm gonna ask Mik what he thinks about Final Fantasy 15, and then I'm gonna ask Prosil what he thinks about it when he watches it in this form. Mik.
Well, I played a little bit of the original game too on PC, so it was actually very funny to compare it like along the playthrough on mobile. Every second was like, wait, this is exactly like it was on the full game, minus graphic and a lot of stuff. But they fully went there and recreated all the things that happen in the actual game, scaled down, obviously. All the dialogues are there.
What about the locations?
All the interactions.
What about the locations? Because they look good.
Are basically the same location, only scaled down, and it's like they literally, if they had magic and took the game and scaled it down to a mobile size, and it works. It's funny. It's not really awesome. I think if you really love it.
What struck me was that even though it was a sort of like scaled down version, it wasn't a sort of cheapened version, because it has its own production value and its own illustration, its own style. And I think that they have managed to keep the style of the characters deformed. I think it's also respected in the scenarios. So I was wondering how close the scenarios are, because they're probably the same scenarios, but if you look at the architecture, I think that this architecture and designs, they still blend well with the deformed.
I played only like an hour, but I think it's the same game. It must be the same game. From what I played, it was identical. I don't know when there's a point in which the game kind of opens up and it's a little bit more free roaming. Prosil will tell you more about this, I'm sure, because I played like very sporadically and fast. I didn't got there on mobile, but everything
you even get achievements. What you're seeing here is the achievement on iOS. So there you go.
It's the same game. Look at what's happening. They're gonna have to push the car. All of it is in there.
Final Fantasy Pocket Edition. Prosil, did you know about this? What do you think? And are you already downloading it now while we speak?
No, I didn't know.
I'm playing SimCity on SNES, by the way.
It really looks like the exact game, because it's the same game. It does lose a lot of charm, because the game is supposed to have these emo characters, and it's based a lot on the graphics. Do you want to hear about the game in general or about this?
What do you think of this? Shall we do also?
I think this is an experiment that you can take, because you can move a game that is quite big and complex to, keeping the same narrative and same environment without, reducing the cost of portings. The game itself is not a masterpiece. I don't know, Pocket Edition. I would never buy like that because it's not a game that made any mark in video game history. So it's like, yeah, it's a very mediocre game. I wouldn't have spent time doing a Pocket Edition. I think it's a pity because the game itself, until you reach the end, it's a great game. Then at the end, you realize that the game was designed differently. You should play this together with Metal Gear 5 to understand. Problems in game design. Cool. Well, okay, the game anyway was not scored very highly, but I think that the game sort of got punished or held back by the same flaws of the original game. That's what I think most people lamented. But anyway, that was Final Fantasy 15, which if you do not own a gaming PC or a video game console for video games, you can still play on your Nintendo Switch or mobile phones for free, the first chapter. So there you go, you guys may want to check this out. Very nice little experiment, but we finish with a bang, and the bang is the sound of my head against the wall after playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Ooh.
Yes.
I haven't played. Which one is this one?
This is the second in the new trilogy of Lara Croft Reborn things.
No, this is the third. This is the third.
No, this is... Yeah, you're right. What's the second called? Rise of the Tomb Raider?
Rise of the Tomb Raider.
My God. Okay. Yeah, no, this is worse. I think that we have...
better already.
If you have watched previous episodes, we have talked about the fact that this game was coming. We talked about news about these games. Check out our previous episodes, because in the previous months there were leaks. There were things that leaked in very peculiar ways. And so you may want to go back to our previous episode and check that out. But the time has finally arrived when we can sit down and talk about this game. And I'm gonna just get it off the way. This game's have a few dynamics in the narrative side that to me just make no sense. And I'm talking about little things because the overall plot seems to be well designed, well thought, but then you look at some scenes and you're like, what is going on? And why doesn't she react to this? Why doesn't she react to that? Why doesn't she feel empathy for this? Why is she like living in this sort of bubble? Is that intentional? So generally I did not. The gameplay is the usual gameplay from the same, really similar to the first game and similar to the second. It looks beautiful, but the game is held back by a narrative that did not keep me playing. Prosil, what did you think?
Sorry, go.
I think that the game used the same engine, same gameplay of the first one, which was a great remake, but it was old since 2011 or 12. Nothing has improved. Also, from a game design point of view, you got this very mild, shallow gameplay until you reach the final stage, where you basically lose all the equipment you did spend time upgrading. I don't know, it's a pity because some of the locations like the tombs are the best I've seen in the series, but then when it comes to the story or when it comes to anything related to the level design, it's very poor. So it's a very silly game. It's a very disposable game, a game that you can forget very easily.
Yeah, and it keeps having this thing where you feel like you're having to do chores, like you're having to loot plants and collect things around, and there are things that are flashing for your attention here and there, but then it feels very like it's really dragging. Even though it's interesting, it's always nice to pick things up in a game, but after a while it feels like you're just doing it because the game is gonna limit your resources and you're having to, and it didn't feel particularly rewarded in doing those also things.
The NPCs are forgettable. The nothing is really remarkable in the game apart from the tombs. So to me, it's like, it's a game you can pay $10 and play it when it's old. Also, the environment, like the cities, and you speak with people. There is no really a real purpose, and this is like a formula they tried already with Dark Tomb Raider, the one from the 2000s on PS2. That was a complete failure.
Because the Shadow Angel of Darkness, maybe.
Angel of Darkness, yeah. Tomb Raider is a game where you need to explore, and you don't need that many weapons. The original Tomb Raider had 3 weapons. One was the gun, the other was the Uzi, and then the shotgun, and then you're done. Here they introduce a lot of the. You see, she is dressed with these disguise, and the disguise you use are needed to pass certain areas, and I think this is very silly. Because you need to go in and change yourself in specific points. I don't know, like, to me it's maybe shallow is the right term. It's a game that doesn't leave you anything.
Yeah. It's a shame because there's still a remarkable production value in terms of the graphics quality, and the animation is actually nice, but it feels like a game rooted in the past. So yeah, Mik, no, you don't want to play this game, if that's what you're wondering.
No, I'm just wondering, why did we... I mean, I played the first one and I liked it. Because, it was basically female Uncharted.
I did too.
And why don't we like the sequels? I didn't like the second one.
It's because they tried to do more, and it's weird. It's like the game throws more things at you, but it's more of the same, and they lose you. I have loved how they have put together the first Tomb Raider remake, which I have played back when it came out. I think it was on PlayStation 3 even.
Yeah.
And then they did the sort of PS4 definitive edition of it.
Yep.
And the game was nice because it opened up slowly, and then you were stranded, and somehow it played to the strength of the survival element. And you needed to... Do you guys remember that in the first Tomb Raider remake, reboot, you needed to climb towers, very similarly to Ubisoft style. You do climb towers, and then you obtain things, and you open up areas of the map, which would be gated by the fact that maybe you do not have a grappling hook or other things. But the game did that very well, and it did the backtracking side also very well. So you would grab a weapon, and that would allow you to go back, return to previous location, and you would have a hub location with different things. The first game was doing it very well because all those things were justified and contextualized by a narrative that could be believable. And it was believable because she was a clean slate, a new character, a new Lara. And then she was thrown into this fucking island, and it was terrible, and blah blah blah, and she has a struggle, and there is drama, and it's all narrated promptly. And in the sequels, she's like whiny and annoying. That's how I found her. But maybe that's just me, or just simply it didn't hold on the narrative side. And when it doesn't hold on the narrative side, it breaks the believable side. It breaks the suspension of belief. And it was like this. Even the second game, you're like running away from a blizzard, and then there is an avalanche, and then somehow you survive. At the beginning of the third game, you crash with a plane and you survive in the middle of a jump.
But I mean, Uncharted does that too, and we are okay with it.
The thing is that in Uncharted, you just barely survive by really just like by splitting a hair, you somehow survive.
So it's the execution, not the premise.
Yeah. In this one, you're like, oh my god, we are we're falling in this plane. Oh, okay, let's start the game. It's I don't know. It was a bit strange. I don't know. Enough. I think it's enough. It's enough talking about this game, which anyway probably got received very well, as you can see. Mixed, very mixed across the board. But there are some 9s and there are some 6. And I think that I see how people can like it, and I see how people can possibly see through the averageness of the game. Right? Don't you think it's an average approach?
I mean, sure.
Okay. With that, I'm gonna guide you guys through a bunch of articles. We're talking about, there is this article that I'm gonna put it in the comments if you comment to this video, if you reach out. There is a little article from Kotaku, just simply trying to do a quick review. We're gonna look at because it's very synthetic. So I like the difficulty option that can remove hints and opportunities. Disliked, the jungle setting has been done too much on current gen system to still feel fresh. And then ambitious efforts to question Lara Croft's actions fade in the game's second half. Not even sure what this means. But anyway, let's talk about news from 2 years ago very briefly. 2 years ago, on the 3rd of September, it was the 20th anniversary of the Metal Gear Solid saga, and there were a few fans that wanted to celebrate this 20th anniversary of Metal Gear Solid with
so cute,
with some Twitter love. And as you can see, there's some interesting illustrations. This is also pretty cool. There's this, which is nice. That's
awesome.
Simply people celebrating this on Twitter, and I just want to this is also nice, not too bad. And there's this, which is really cool and very much in the style. So yeah, 20 years of Metal Gear Solid.
We already hated Kojima when this happened, right?
No, we did not. We were fine with him, and now it's a bit different. Sure. But still, 2 years ago we were celebrating the 20th years anniversary. Look at this one. This is really cool.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, really nice, really nice. And there's the typical 8-bit cheap bit art.
I think now that I think about it, Kojima has a real obsession with people losing eyes. Now,
yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. And guess what happened on the same day of 2 years ago? It was also the day in which the PlayStation 2 officially went out of production. If you think about it, it means that until 2018, PlayStation 2s were being produced.
Yeah, because I remember that they still use them a lot in third world countries. There's another part of the world that it's arrived a little bit later to the whole parade.
Yeah, and apparently they also did it because of customer support. People break their console and they need fresh ones.
If I recall correctly, PS2 in some countries actually add Netflix, or PS3, I don't remember. You had to Netflix would actually send you a disc that would install the app into the console and you could launch it. Was that a PS2 or PS3? But back then when we were already on another generation.
I think it might have been a PS2 disc, because PS2 did that stuff. PS2 also had a sort of online kit where you would install the modem or a sort of Ethernet interface in the back of the PS2, and then you would put in a disc that would allow you to browse the web on PS2. I know because I actually am a proud collector of that shit. And
you have that?
Yeah. I also played online with my PS2 back in the days, and I played Socom on PS2 with a headset online. Whoa. So it was really nice. And the other thing you could do is not only you could play online, but the nice thing is that you could command your soldiers with voice commands. So the NPCs in your team, you could tell them "Bravo, attack," and the PlayStation 2 would recognize the voice command much better than Siri, as far as I can tell. Seriously. And
seriously, that was a pun, right?
Yeah.
It is now.
Anyway, let's finish this up. There was this article about Nintendo Direct, which announced the new Luigi Mansions game 2 years ago. Bowser Inside Store arriving to PS3. Katamari Damacy getting a Switch remastered version. The Switch getting a Nintendo-style wireless Bluetooth controller for Switch. Little things like this. And that was it. This was also the day and the moment where they announced that City Skylines was arriving to Nintendo Switch. So they did the Nintendo Direct and they dropped the game live. The games that we were talking about. Same can be said, I think, for a bunch of Final Fantasy games, because we're talking about Final Fantasy 15 arriving to Switch. Well, guess what? Even Final Fantasy 12 was announced for the Switch, and even Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, and 10 and 10-2 arrived to Switch.
Final Fantasy 7 on Switch then?
Yes, but not the remaster. We're talking about the original.
Okay.
We're talking about all the original that had been brought over. So all of a sudden, 2 years ago, people on a Nintendo console could play Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and 10, which were PlayStation exclusives until then. Think about it. It wasn't possible to play this game with Wii and Wii U. So it took a very long time for Nintendo to bring Final Fantasies back to the new Final Fantasy back to their console after the split up back in the Nintendo 64 times. So guys, that pretty much wraps up our news and our coverage of September, early September from 2018. We're going to meet again in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about the second half of September 2018. Do you guys want to have a quick peek at what's coming for next episode? There you go. I'm gonna let you have it. Ooh, God! Oh my God!
There's gonna be some Japanese stuff there.
Oh my God! There's gonna be a lot of interesting stuff.
I've spotted some weeb stuff.
There's pretty much like 10 days of Japanese things, and then there is Broken Sword 5. But no, there is stuff. There is also, The Walking Dead. There is Valkyria Chronicles. There's gonna be things we need to talk about. So we're gonna do just that 2 weeks from now for the next episode, which will be episode 17. Can you believe, guys, we have done already 17 episodes? Wow. It's incredible. I mean, look at this. Look, done so many. Incredible.
We are very high rated as well.
Here we are highly rated. We've got 2 ratings with 5 out of 5 stars on the Apple Podcast. So you guys should all download our podcast from your Apple platforms. You can do so on iPhone or iPad or your Mac or your Apple Watch or your iPod, and you can open the podcast and search for the podcast app and search for Talk to Late and review us because you want to do so. I'm gonna leave you guys to finish up. Give your coordinates if you want to, or I leave you to your final thoughts. Mik, Prosil, take it away and say what you want, and I'm gonna close it up.
You go, Prosil.
You can follow me on twitch.tv/Prosil. You play too much. I'm not streaming these days, so the channel is gonna be inactive for a while. I think I leave just the coordinates. The channel is about just streaming games and possibly in hard difficulty. That's all about. Yep.
And we look forward to seeing you back on streaming and to reaching your 100 platinum before the end of the year. And Mik, this is your new brand identity for at least the foreseeable future, like
for a little bit,
couple of weeks, I guess. And then and then I don't know, give us your coordinates.
You can find me at twitch.tv/MikMayo, which almost nobody so far has misspelled. Nice. Maybe they know mayonnaise, but nobody says mayo. Everybody says mayo, which 10 out of 10, you non-native Italian people out there.
I mean, I would have spelled it as meow.
Nobody does that. It's awesome.
Which is Italian for meowing like a cat.
So, meow. What is it? Meow.
It's meow.
Meow. It's so weird.
MEW in English, I guess.
That's so weird.
It doesn't work.
In Japanese, it's like very cute. The Japanese has still different sounds.
They say yan or something like that. Yan.
Yeah, I think so.
Like for the meowing.
Yeah, you can find me every What? Sorry.
English cats meow in a weird way. Anyway.
Weird way. You can find me there every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. Cooking streams are postponed until it's chill enough that I don't die in my kitchen. But we're not playing Resident Evil.
Okay.
Not playing Resident Evil for unless probably Resident Evil 7. But we're not playing old Resident Evil for a long time. I swear.
But you're playing the Evil Within.
I'm playing the Evil Within. Maybe I'm gonna play Resident Evil 7. Maybe I'm gonna play Hitman 2, doing the campaign of the first game though. Maybe I'm gonna be playing The Walking Dead, something horror but new, completely new. And I'm gonna send you guys the link to play SimCity on SNES online for free. It's illegal probably, but it's online. So
okay, I'm not gonna open the link now then. But you can find us if you comment to this video and follow us on Twitch, or you can follow us on Facebook, where I've been posting recently about this crazy prototype of the Switch/Wii U before the Wii U was even a thing. Incredible. And you guys can find us on podcasting platforms, on Apple Podcast if you use iOS, or Spotify if you use Android. And with that, I am gonna wrap it up, leave it at that, invite you guys to follow us and to check out the links in the description to support us for free by installing the Brave browsers with my referral link. And I thank you guys for watching, and most importantly, I thank my 2 guests, and I wish them to join me again 2 weeks from now for our next episode.
Thank you, game.
Take it easy, guys, and have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.